All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Grange Public Library Board of Trustees to order at 7 o'clock, sure. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Katie?
Here.
Lisa?
Here.
Vicky?
Here.
Chantel?
Here.
Bethany? Here. Jessica?
Here.
Jennifer?
Here.
All present.
All right. We have some visitors this evening. Welcome to Peter Vankempen, IT and Operations. Joyce MacIntosh will be speaking to us in a moment. And hello, welcome.
Thank you.
And do we have any public comment? Anyone wish?
Would that be me?
If you would like to address the board,
Oh.
yes, you're welcome to do so. Yes.
Hi. Thank you so much for allowing me to come to your meeting. And I expected some high schoolers or teenagers or tweens to come, but I guess their schedule was so busy to pass these out. May I pass these out, please, so you can have a visual?
Yes, you may.
Okay.
I do want to share with you just briefly, we do have a 3-minute limit per speaker for our
Once I
public
get
comment.
these out, 3 minutes, and I'm out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, thanks.
And you're addressed as executive director or president or what?
Just Jen.
Just Jen. Jen, I've been coming to the library for a bazillion years, okay, and I've seen many changes in the time that I've been coming here. I've noticed that in this last couple of years, the tweens and the teens are ballistic upstairs. They come, they run through the aisles, and they are kind of boisterous and rowdy, because they have energy. The reason being, they have nothing really in their room. It's boring, okay? It's small and it's really boring. The furniture is not appealing to that age, which I'm sure, well, I asked them. I had a meeting with a bunch of them right up there in the lobby, and one of the circulation ladies told me they're appeasing you because they told me that they would come. I'm like, don't stand me up. Are you going to come? I may have soccer practice. Okay. So at any rate, I said, I'm going to advocate for you. Okay. I would certainly love to see them get more space. This room is perfect for them. The preschoolers and the toddlers have much more space than they have. Okay, and their stuff is light and vibrant and, welcoming to them. The bookshelves are blocking the little spaces that they do have. So if they cannot get a nice room like this with the gaming, is that what they call their gaming system or whatever? I'm old school, you can tell by my hair. So if they can't get this room, please try to do something with the room that they have. Give them some decent furniture. Take those shelves, the books that are in there, and you just moved all the DVDs and movies to the back. So you have a lot of space right up there in the front. Take the books out. Take the shelves out. They've got space now. Get them, one of the girls, Susie and Mia, said they would love some beanbag chairs. If you look at those pictures, I think the chairs that LaGrange Park has, those are a little bit probably more sturdier. Yeah, share. They're probably a little bit more sturdier than beanbags, okay? But they're colorful. And have them something that they can, entertain themselves with. I wondered, is popcorn, if I donate a popcorn machine, is that allowed? Can they have popcorn while they maybe watch a PG-rated movie or something, or read a book to one another? Can they have popcorn? Can they pop popcorn in this little air popcorn popper and put it in some cups and eat it? That's a thought, okay? So let's see.
Thank you. I do need to let you know that the 3
My 3
minutes
minutes
is
are up.
yes.
I'm sure your schedule is really, really hectic.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me the time. I certainly hope that you guys will consider that.
Thanks for
That's
putting
your
all these
future.
pictures together.
That's your future.
Appreciate
One
it.
day, they'll be sitting at a board discussing your Medicare and your Medicaid. So you want to put forward, you want to plant some good seeds, okay? Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you
your
very
time.
much. Good night.
I don't know if she wants
She
to
said
do
we can keep
Did she say?
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
Thank you. All right. Any other public comments?
None received.
Receipts? Okay, wonderful. All right. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Katie,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Vicky,
Aye.
Chantel,
Aye.
Brittany,
Oh, aye.
Jessica,
Aye.
Jennifer.
All right. And with no
I think we need to pass the executive session minutes.
Oh.
So we hooked them, look at them.
Okay. Oh, that's right, yes. So these are the minutes from our meeting last month, our closed session from last month. So we do need to just approve these.
We could vote again. This is right.
Thank you for that.
I thought they were already passed out, sorry.
That's
me.
okay.
Otherwise I would have wiggled.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thanks.
much. Do we have any comments?
In the back, are these just not checked for some reason? I know they're on the front too. April 16th.
It was just the sheet that we used to say which ones were being approved, et cetera.
Okay. So we should just mark those, keep confidential.
Well, the ones that are not checked are the ones that are not eligible for destruction yet because they're within the 18-month period.
Right.
So that's why they're not checked.
But it's keep confidential or release are the two.
And then it looks like the second one is to dispose.
Yeah, so the second batch are the
Okay.
ones for disposal. Any further questions or comments? Shall we go ahead and vote again?
I think we
Yeah,
should.
I think so. Do we have a motion to reapprove the consent agenda?
I motion to reapprove the consent agenda.
Thank you.
I second.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any further questions or discussion? Okay. Roll call 2.
Katie,
Aye.
Lisa.
Aye.
Vicky,
Aye.
Chantel,
Aye.
Jessica,
Aye.
Brittany,
Aye.
Jennifer.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you. And then we'll go ahead and collect these and pass these back to Joanne, so she will take care of them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All
And
right.
then in the future, we'll do this every 6 months.
Yeah, and that'll be your responsibility as secretary, Vicki, to ensure that that happens. So our first item of new business is Peter's presentation.
Are you gonna connect?
Yeah, I'll take the cord.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I'll keep it brief because most of y'all have met me before. I can see it on my screen. Let's see if we can't
That's an
get you
excellent
on
screensaver.
everything. There we go. So I just want to give you a little information about what I do here at the library. Projects we've worked on together in the last year, projects we're going to work on in this coming year. My name is Peter Vankempen. I'm the IT and Operations Manager here. I started here at the library in December of 2019. So I'm just about now getting to some normal stuff that we are able to do here. The first few years we did a lot of catch up on deferred maintenance and outdated technology and things like that. So we are finally at a point now where we're able to do some larger scale projects, still continue some maintenance. The building is reaching 20 years old, and so it has the maintenance needs of a 20-year-old building. So we're reaching end of life replacement for lots of things. So that's the sort of stuff that we're working on and I work on sort of on a regular basis. One of my largest roles here is I am sort of the point person for a lot of our contractors here at the building. So this is just a small slice, oddly enough, of all of the folks that I deal with on a pretty regular basis to help keep the library up and running, keep staff technology going, all of those things. So the big ones are lots of acronyms and 3 letters that staff complain what abbreviation is causing me troubles today. So OSG is Outsourced Solutions Group. They're our managed service provider. They help with all of our IT needs, help keep computers, servers running, information security, all of that stuff they do for us. TBS is another very common one. Folks who work in libraries grow to cherish and despise them. They do a lot of great things for the library, and their services are finicky and break a lot, but they're some of the only folks who do it. So they do a lot of the computer management for like patrons to reserve a computer. They do printing technologies, the print from anywhere, the coin towers that attach to our printers, things like that. Remote printing, they do our scan station. They just have a whole bunch of hands sort of in the library field. So we do a lot of work with them. And then there's all of the other sort of parts of my job and people that we deal with, so our telephones, landscaping, plowing, waste removal, any sort of contractor work, painting, electric, plumbing, things like that. Things that are too big to handle in-house, we bring folks in to do all of that. We have an overnight cleaning crew that cleans the building, multiple alarm systems, fire prevention, elevator shenanigans. We had those this week. If you tell an elevator person the building's open till 9, they'll think that 8:56 is a great time to come and start a repair, which staff are real troopers about that. Our door systems, access, locksmiths, some pump our generator, HVAC and controls, all those things. I have a experience in building management is where I came from, and dabbled in IT, and now I sort of do equal parts of both. So a lot of this stuff I handle as much in-house as we can, and then we call the professionals for, larger issues, things like that. Some of the things I have worked on either with them or OSG or other folks, these are some of the stuff a lot of this I presented to you. I went back through my presentation that I gave last July. I was like, I did all the things I told you I was going to do. I felt I was like, we did it. I accomplished all the things we said we were going to work on. So one of the big ones we did this year was our patron network separation. You probably saw it was kept coming up in the board report. We were spending some weird money to do it. We finally, on the recommendation of our IT consultants, completely separated our secure servers from the patron devices. So if you check out a laptop or use the copy machine or the OPAC stations, anything, none of that can talk to our servers anymore. We had to split a whole bunch of, first we had to label every port in the building and figure out where every port went into every server room. That was like a multiple month project to chase all of that with multiple outside firms to sort of do that work. The people who do that are incredibly impressive, the tools they have and the abilities they have to sort of have a little scavenger hunt in the library. It was fun to watch them. But yes, now anytime a patron accesses a device, they can no longer connect to our secure server. So all of our patron records, all of our financial stuff, all of the personnel stuff is all now completely separated from anything that patrons can access. So it was a long time coming, and it is one of those things that we never had a problem before, and now we won't have a problem. So we feel great about that sort of security upgrade we made. we worked with Engberg Anderson on our building master plan. This is another thing that we kept coming to you and showing you and working back and forth. But besides the presentations we had here, Jen and I had multiple meetings with architects to meet them, hire them, brainstorm, meet with the leadership team, interview staff, go through public comments from our strategic plan, and go back and forth as we sort of put together this building master plan that we are now sort of using to guide our next projects going forwards. That was a pretty big thing we did this last year. This middle one is OSG hassle-free. Is we were working so much with OSG and we sort of did some budgeting work it made sense for us to sort of upgrade our service with them. And so they are providing, we found us needing greater IT support from them. That there were things I couldn't provide. I can't be here 24/7, and they offer a lot more of that support. And so we started that this, I think spring, with the winter into spring. And sort of rolled it out to staff who now have better access to reach out for the IT support they need, as opposed to waiting for the one day a week we had a technician here, or catching me in my office if we could fix things. It's been really great so far. It frees up sort of my time. It also allows us to offer better IT support to the staff without constantly having to go like, is this worth a phone call out? Because then they're going to bill me for that phone call, and how long big a project. And so all of that is now just rolled into this account. It's been really great. I think staff are happy with it. We're having OSG actually came and talked at our in-service a couple weeks ago. Our rep that we work with here sort of came and presented and talked to the staff, and they, I think, had some good questions for him. And it was nice to put a face to what is often just a pop-up on your computer saying, please reboot, please reboot. We have so many updates. Please reboot your computer. These two pictures here are from a boiler flue replacement. Some of you were around a few years ago when we did a first half of this project. Essentially, the building has there's a boiler in the basement here, and then there's a big chimney that runs all the way up through the building and then across the second floor and then out through the roof. And that had started to deteriorate over the years through the condensation in it and the exhaust gases going through it. And so we had a pretty substantial leak. You can see where they were all working upstairs. They replaced half of this flue a few years ago, and then the second half had failed. So it took some staff work. We shifted a whole bunch of books out of the way of these drips for a while as we sort of managed the situation. But you can see this is when we had a temporary skylight in the building. It was actually, we had to go out to the roof, so we had a fun little day where there was just open air to the second floor. But that's the sort of stuff that takes coordination with multiple contractors, the staff inside the building to talk about schedules and needs and shifting books and all those things. To sort of to do this project, we had to have the boilers off for a week, and so we found this leak in like February, maybe.
Yeah, so
like January,
not
February.
temperature-wise time.
And so we
to have
couldn't do
no
it. So it
heat.
became a like game of management for 5 months until we could go a week, where we're like, we are certain we will not need the heat this week. So things like that. And the final thing we did, the mural refresh. That's our little raccoon friend up there. He has nothing with the boiler flue. He's just there. But we worked with the original painter and artist who had done the Tyler's room painting originally. She came back and did some touch-ups, cleaned up some damage that had been done in there, added some new animals, and sort of refreshed the whole thing. It was nice to have her come back and add her style back to that room. That was a fun project to try to schedule and move story times, all sorts of fun things with that. So going forward this year, these are the big things that we are aiming to work on in the next calendar year, and I will hopefully have all of these to update you on next July or August when I'm talking to you again. The first one is the second floor construction project, starting to look at that flex space up there and what that project's going to look like, starting to get drawings, bids, all of that, get that work started in this fiscal year and into the next one. So you will again see me coming to talk about that and do things as the board meeting progress throughout the year. The next one sort of go hand in hand. As part of the building master plan, we sort of refreshed our capital needs assessment and started looking at what parts of this 20-year-old building we will need to replace over the next 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year. And one of the big ones coming up is some HVAC replacement needs. Our boilers are reaching end of life. Our chiller is, I have spare parts for it in my office because we just kept replacing parts and the lead times on them got so long. We're like, we'll just order 2 this time because we've replaced 4 out of the 8. I have a 5th one that just sits in my office ready for it to go. So some of those capital needs assessments are looking at the boiler, the chiller, VAV boxes, reheat boxes throughout the building, all of those things. But to make those projects worthwhile and successful, our control system is the first domino that needs to fall. We can't add some new equipment on our old controls. The thermostats you see on the wall like behind Joanne there that control our system, the only way you can change, operate, work on them is to plug into them with a Windows 7 computer. That's all they talk to. And so we have it's not security supported, it's not anything like that. So our technician comes in with a laptop that has been like disconnected from the internet so it doesn't auto update, and we'll like plug in to do things like that. And so we are at a point where we need to first upgrade those controls so that we can have, say, modern control system. I was on vacation and we had lost power. Jen texted me, she goes, power came back, we can't tell if the air conditioning is working out. Is there an easy way to tell what the temperature is? And I was like, no. here's the steps you can take. You can go into the sub-basement and there's a dial on the wall that'll tell you the pressure of the chilled water coming in, and then you can infer from there if things are working, and then they'll catch up. It's pretty cool. So that is step 1 of sort of these capital needs assessments. So we're working with some folks to start work on that control system, get those upgraded to something modern and functional. All the new buildings, you can control the temperature with an app, or there's an iPad that does all of those things, and all the digital outreads and things like that. And we have a box and all that has a little slider that pretends like it does something. So that is where we currently are going forward. It's Jen and I talk about our budgets and things like that. We had a big building push for a few years to get the building back into shape. The last few years we've done a lot of technology. We bought new devices for all the staff, new laptops for the public, screen upgrades for in here, technology upgrades, hearing loop upgrades, all sorts of things. And now there's a swing back towards building stuff again, that we've caught up on technology. Our servers are up, our firewalls functional, all of those, and now it's time to put that step back towards building upgrades as the building sort of now needs to catch up with our technology. And so that's what I do here. That's sort of my job of riding those waves, moving back and forth and trying to keep the building up and running, and staff and patrons able to use and access the space as best they can. That's what I have. What questions do you have? Anything? I know I'm up here a lot talking to you all about various silly things, so you will see me sort of more often than some of the other staff or members of the leadership team as I just sort of pop in because I have to ask you for money a lot more than they do. So.
Do you have a cost for the boiler?
Not currently. I mean, we have it in our capital needs assessment. I have to look up what it is. I think it's about, we have 2 boilers, so they're redundant. The one goes down, the other one picks it up. Once upon a time, they were like $12,500 to $15,000 each. But they have things like copper and steel and chips in them right now, and so getting quotes on anything like that is a crapshoot at the best of times. So those are those projects that we have that special building fund for. That's that when we sort of looked at doing the budgeting for the building master plan and starting to do that in our annual budget, and then taking that special building fund to say this is for those capital needs assessment, because our full capital needs assessment over the next 15 years was like $4 million if you had to do everything. And stuff's in better shape. Our roof's in better shape than we thought it was, so that's not a lingering concern right now. Our VAVs are still functional. They're leaky. They're the variable air volume boxes. So essentially, we have a big fan wall in the basement that blows all the air through. Then each room has its own sort of smaller about the size of like your home furnace that controls the air to each room. And so we have about 40 of those in the building. They all have their own controls. They can control airflow, temperature for each space. So this room could be a different temperature in the hallway, and it controls all of those things. But they all have digital controls that go to them that tell you how far to open the damper, what speed the air needs to come through, how much cold water they need, and then how much hot water they need, all of those. But those are the things that we can't start updating until we update the controls, because you can't stick a new VAV box on this old control system because it just can't talk to all of the pieces that need to move and report back to the system. So that's where we stand. We're in.
You re-looked at the roof? I don't understand.
We did, yeah. I had we've had a roofing folks come out. They sort of graded our roof. We're like on an A to an F. We're a C. So they're like, you're like good for the next 8 to 10 years before you're looking at replacement and things like that. So we're in decent shape on the rubber membrane roof. We have some folks coming out to replace some slate tiles that have started sliding and things, but those are decorative and they are protective of the roof up there right now. So yeah, the roof was like the big one that was hanging over. That one's like $500,000 to redo the roof, and so that is pushed more into the future now. That in our Cavaliers assessment, it was like 2 years from now, and there's no need to do that sort of that imminently. There's no sign of failure or anything like that that we're dealing with.
Do both boilers need to be replaced at the same time?
No, but we should when we do them. They are old and obsolete, and any technician we have who comes to work on them just gets mad at me that I still have them. We have our boilers inspected by the state every 2 years, and every time he comes in, he looks at them, he's like, you're still running these, huh? Like, this has been, they pass, but they are old and creaky and inefficient.
And that will be done this year, the boilers.
I don't know if it'll be done this year. Our goal is to get the controls done this year, and then once the controls are done, we can reach out. Our hope is to bundle. The more things we do, the cheaper it is. So if we could do both boilers and the VAV boxes and some other part of the system all at the same time, that's cheaper than just like doing one boiler and then the next boiler and then things like that.
And it won't involve, the flue is done.
Flue's done.
It doesn't need to be remodified if these things change.
Nope, so if we put the new boilers in, they can just attach to the new
No
flue.
more controls need
Yep.
to be.
Controls will be integrated into the system we have, so a new system can talk to our old dumb units, and then we put new sort of smart units on the new control system. But that is, I've been going back and forth. Johnson Controls is currently who does our controls. And the advantage of continuing with them is that they can use existing wiring, some control units, things like that, to upgrade the controls rather than going to a new third party who would have to run new wires to everything in the building. And so we're waiting to get quotes back from them. They're sharpening their pencils for us, but they're also a huge company, and so getting them to move on things is, we are small potatoes for a company their size doing HVAC controls right now. So I did a walkthrough a couple weeks ago. I have another one next week. We set up to figure out what exactly they can do for us and what that's going to look like. And so some of those projects may be anything over $25,000. We have to come to you for approval and a bid. So if those numbers get high, you'll start seeing me come back and saying like, hey, we need to do a RFP or a full bid for controls, boiler, all of those things. So you'll be seeing me, Dan, whoever coming in to say, hi, it's time to spend money on these big things. So. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Peter. Thanks for keeping us updated today
Sure.
and always.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think some of the last points you were making were the most relevant to me as far as what I need to know about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think what would be helpful in the future, because I know we have a lot of these informational presentations, is to really reframe it as what about what you do is relevant to what we're doing.
Sure.
Because I think a lot of times, especially those of us who have been here a while, we kind of know some of the background, and it's like almost bullets, like here's what's coming out by the
Yes,
boiler.
this is what you're going to see me next.
Because that's what we're all asking about, right? I think that would be super helpful
Sure thing.
for not just you, like anyone that's.
Yeah.
Thank you again. All right, next up, we have a returning board member.
All right,
Welcome, Joyce. Thank you so much for being here this evening.
my pleasure. And I actually did decide to switch it up this year because a number of you have heard me speak on this topic. And because in the last year I've gotten sick of preaching hyperbole and using the word unprecedented. So instead of doing, I am choosing to do neither of those things tonight. I am going to share some numbers and point out a few things. I'll revisit a few definitions that some of you are like, yeah, I've heard this 3 times. But I will try to make it applicable to what you are doing because I have heard you and I have sat there and I do understand that. I also cut a fair amount out and made it a little more boring and less entertaining and for the sake of time tonight. So you don't get, it's not like you get a full stand-up hour. You do get some depressing, I didn't say I wouldn't use that word, numbers. All right. So I'm going to start with what is going on currently in our public and our public school libraries. You see that big increase. We were chugging along just fine until the pandemic, averaging around maybe 300 challenges a year, and most of those were in our schools. We really did not see public libraries having many censorship attempts because the public library is the public library. And people are more concerned with minors and what materials they can have access to. But in the last few years, the numbers have really shifted. So now public libraries receive an equal and sometimes greater number of challenges than our public school libraries. I am saying public here because I'm going to talk in a few minutes about limited public forums. That's places set aside by our government for one purpose, and that's for us to access information. And our private schools and our private libraries are not a limited public forum. Most of the librarians and library workers in those spaces adhere to library ethics, just like a medical professional in any setting or a legal professional would adhere to those ethics, but they aren't bound by the same rules that all of us are here as trustees and patrons. So I want to point out, and I apologize for the next 2 slides. I'm going to do that right now. I don't like big lists of numbers, but I want to point out a few things here. Percentage of K-12 titles targeted in curriculum, and so this column is 2001 to 2020. That's that long time period. This is 3 years. And that's those huge numbers. For a long time, both the curriculum and the school library were, getting kind of similar amounts of challenges, but in curriculum, you didn't have many titles challenged. I want to share why this number has dropped significantly. Why you used to see a lot of censorship targeted at curriculum, and now it's not as bad. That's the only number that's gone down. We have a wonderful thing in our public school libraries and in our public schools called an opt-out. We have them often in public libraries, but always in schools. If my son is in LT, in Honors English, and I say I do not want my son to be participating in these topics, it is my parental right to say that. They will offer him a different book. The reason I'm making a big deal out of this is to share that when people say, but parental rights, but I don't want my kid having these topics, you have that choice. You have the choice to choose what's right for your family, what's right for your child. That exists already. So I want to make a point of that. That's how come that number has gone down, and that's a great thing. However, titles targeted in public schools, look at that jump. So right now, we're still seeing the big numbers in public schools, but the thing that is quite disconcerting are the large number of challenges in public libraries. And then the one I wanted to point out also is books challenged by pressure groups. So it used to be that we'd have one person coming in and saying, I don't like Harry Potter, it should be banned, it's witchcraft, you're going to hell. A number of you have heard me say this, but we now have organized groups targeting schools and public libraries, Moms for Liberty, Purple Parents. I'm not kidding, that's the name. One would think it's different, but it's not. Anyways, we now have many organized groups coming in, sharing lists of titles online, saying I don't want any of this topic in the library, saying I don't want any of these books in the library, circumventing our policies, and it doesn't go well. So for a few minutes now, I'll share how it doesn't go well. But the nature of censorship has changed. We may still have one patron coming in and talking to us and saying they don't like something. Of course, that is their right. It's our right. It's our staff's right. We have a First Amendment right to do that. And then we may have an organized group like Moms for Liberty or Turning Point USA, who are quite active in our area, coming in and saying we don't want any of these books at LT. Or we might have any number of other groups. So that's where we'll look at how you address those differently. I don't necessarily need to go through that. But note 2023 and the increase from 57 in 2011 to 2,985.
Does that title censored mean like they removed it?
Yes, it means that the book was removed, labeled, deemed inaccessible. Yes.
And this is nationally, or is this U.S.?
This is nationally. And this is only what is reported to the ALA Office for Intellectual Freedom, which is one of the offices I work for. That's a drop in the bucket. Every number you are looking at is a drop in a bucket. It only reflects what has been reported to our office. Other groups like the National Council for Teachers of English and PEN America, there are a few other groups also gathering statistics. Again, they're not duplicated. If you want, grab those numbers and add them together. It's significant. There's a word. Significant. This is something that I really want to share with all of you, because a lot of times I feel that as trustees, since I've been sitting here and I may sit here again, it's easy to say, well, I don't like that book either, so I'm going to vote against it. The critical thing here is that we've each taken an oath to set aside our personal viewpoints and to uphold the First Amendment and provide access to all people in our community. This is what happens when people don't take that seriously. Only a judge would determine if a title or if materials are obscene, harmful to minors, pornographic. Those are all legal terms, and only a judge would determine that. At this point, in that list of 2,000 people, or 2,000 people, oh my God, 2,000 titles, no judge has said those titles match any of those definitions. That gives me hope on a daily basis. I'll get to the one case that's probably going to the Supreme Court in a few minutes. But at this point, if schools and public library boards of trustees don't follow their own policies and don't uphold First Amendment rights, they have been ending up paying big numbers. Llano, Texas, they originally cut out a handful of books that were butt jokes. I am not even kidding. And that's the case that's going to the Supreme Court. That's the case. It's hit the third level now. An en banc panel has determined that yes, this can keep going, that yes, they can vote to remove books. They've decided it's government speech. That is unprecedented. Sorry, I said I wouldn't say it. But it probably won't fly. But I'm telling you this because at this point, the conviction that they had that they didn't like these books is costing them a lot of money every step of the way. They have to pay legal fees. Often you end up paying other people's legal fees. That's a school district, but they had to pay, they're at $355 now. This is a county library that they determined they did not like LGBTQ materials in the public library. So I'm pointing these out because it really is happening. When boards don't follow their own policies and uphold them, it doesn't go well. So, I hear this so often. People can just buy it on Amazon. It's okay if we remove it. People can't. People don't have access. A friend of mine is a librarian on the North Slope in Alaska, and the lines, I don't know if it was cable or fiber that go under the ocean, got accidentally cut last winter, so no one in her whole region had internet access. Starlink actually did come in and save the day in this instance, which it was really interesting for her to navigate this this summer as a librarian, because yes, Starlink came in and that was the solution, and they do have internet. But not everyone can afford a computer, not everyone has access, but with our public libraries, they do. Every kid in our area, and now every kid in Illinois, has access to a public library. Maybe their parent can't afford it, maybe they don't have time to get it, but it's our job to make sure we have it. So now to the boring definitions that some of you are familiar with. So a public library is a limited public forum. We are the only entity like that. We are the only entity that the government has said, you are going to be here, we're going to fund you, and you're going to provide something for every single individual. We're going to make sure that their First Amendment rights are protected and they can access the information they want within the law. Access for everybody. And it's that simple. When people think, oh, the librarians are doing this, the librarians are buying that. No, we're actually following the law. We have to provide access to information, current and historic, covering all topics, which is in the Library Bill of Rights, which has been around since 1959.
I think it's 59 or 56.
Which has been around since, I think, 1959. So it's not new. It's not it's not a crazy new radical concept. It has been here for a very long time, and we must adhere to that. Intellectual freedom, the right of unrestricted access to information. First Amendment applies to government entities, not our private entities. A store owner can decide they don't want to sell us something. They have that right. But we must set policies within our government rules and regulations. I want to point something out. Censorship is the effort to ban, prohibit, remove, label, or restrict library materials. So it doesn't just mean taking it off the shelf. It could mean saying, I'm going to move the entire graphic novel collection to the adult collection. Then you have a bunch of kids running to the adult collection. So that one's not necessarily thought through. But anything that interferes with access is and can be a form of censorship. And where this comes in is the policy you're going to approve tonight. Yes. Every library, it's really hard because often I say this when I'm speaking to library groups, and some people will say, well, we don't have a policy. And I'm like, it's a great day to create one. Because this makes it so we can rely on something. We don't have to share our opinion. Staff don't have to share their opinion. They can say, here is our policy. It's on our website for the whole world to read. This is how we decide what we're going to get, and this is how we decide what we're going to remove. And if you don't like it, you have a right to follow a process to remove it. So something I would note, just noting our guest tonight, she's a Grange Park resident. Some libraries say anybody can come and share their reflections and say if they want to remove something. Some libraries say you have to be a card holder. That's really up to the library and consulting with the library's attorney based on different states' laws. But here is the thing. If you don't have someone following that process, you don't have a challenge. If someone comes to you from an organization and says, here's the list, remove these 200, you don't have to go through your process with those 100 titles. They need to fill out your reconsideration form. Your reconsideration form says, have you read, viewed, or listened to the entire work? And I'm going to show you where that makes a difference. And they may just lie, but you must follow the process. I was supposed to say this like the second I stood up. I'm not an attorney, so anything I say is informational and not legal advice. So I've mentioned it, and I'll say it 10 more times tonight. We're ensuring access, not defending content. We have time, place, and manner rules. We decide when the library is open. And I should note here that put yourself in a patron role too, because each of us, whether we're a current trustee or not, we must behave as a patron. We must behave as a trustee. We can't just say, oh, I know the library's not open for 10 more minutes, but I'm going to use a card and get in. We shouldn't be doing anything but walking in that front door and properly using the library unless we're trying to get out of the building at 9, 10 at night. So we have to follow the time, place, and manner rules that we set. These time, place, and manner rules include our policies: collection development, display, behavior, privacy, internet, recording, social media, programs, meeting room use. All time, place, and manner. None of them have anything to do with our opinion about the content in the building. All right, so I mentioned before that you have to read, view, or listen to an entire work. If a challenge goes to a court, goes to a judge, and again, they're the ones that can determine if something's actually obscene. A judge is going to look at the Miller test, and they're going to say, well, to be obscene, a content of a book or a material has to meet all three of these criteria. And lots of people look at these first two and they say, well, not in my community. My community standard is A, B, or C. But this this third one is a national test. So, content has to meet all three of these. And at this point, the Miller test has held strong. And really, our librarians are buying what they're trained to curate the collection. They're buying wonderful books. They're buying Lisa's books. They're buying material for everyone in the community. And if you don't like it, then you pick something else. What is harmful to minors? Harmful to minors, you'll hear people trying to skirt this a lot too. They'll say it's obscene, it's got sexual content. They're coming up with all sorts of phrases. But a judge would say, okay, harmful to minors is the same as the Miller test, but they're considering the content related to minors, and they will always look at the oldest minor. They are going to look at a 17-year-old. I guarantee that these kids are not having access to All Boys Aren't Blue, Genderqueer, any of those titles. Librarians are cataloging them and putting them in the proper spot on the shelves. So a judge is going to look at that. They're going to say a K through 12 content. They're going to see that the librarians put them in the high school library, and they're going to say, okay, this would be appropriate for a 17-year-old, or this would not. Again, people have the right to share their opinion, and we review it, and there are certainly times when we do see a book that someone's challenged and go, this should have been thrown out 20 years ago. Or, how did this get in YA? Or, who stuck this in children's? That does occur. We do our due diligence. We get the challenge report, we process it, and we do it fairly and properly. I'm only going to give a couple of examples legally. Arizona. There was a group, the State Board of Education in Arizona, this was about a decade ago, they decided they didn't want any content related to Mexican Americans because it was that word that you threw out a little while ago or something along those lines. It just, they didn't need to have that. They don't need anything about Mexican Americans. And a number of students said, wait a minute, we're going to take this to court. That's us, that's our history. And it was one of the cases that was the most clear case where the judge said, this is blatant viewpoint discrimination, and you can't do it. And they had everything returned. And then did anyone hear about the cheerleader that went on her Snapchat because she got pissed when she was cut from the team? Yes. Okay, so there was a cheerleader who got cut from the team, and she got ticked, and she got on Snapchat, and she said exactly what she thought about everybody. And they suspended her from school and kicked her off the team. Was it really, really horrific sportsmanship? Yes. Was it her First Amendment right on her Snapchat platform to say what she wanted? Yes. And again, that one went all the way up. School officials do not have the right to punish students for speech in places unconnected to campus. So I'm wanting to point out that before people and educators and trustees jump to conclusions based on their opinion, it's so important to think of the First Amendment. Not that we all have to become First Amendment attorneys, but we do have to use some serious discernment. I love the cheerleader case. This was one where a judge determined that by moving and segregating school materials. Say you decided to take any book that had any LGBTQ content and put it behind a desk, and people have to come to the desk and say they want it. That is potentially stigmatizing and preventing access to information. And I wanted to note that I had a really cute graphic on here saying, you know what, labeling can be good, right? Sometimes we do want labels. Sometimes we want to understand what we're looking at. But you have to consider why the label is being used and how it's going to be applied. Excuse me. All right. So I want to share a few advocacy tools, and then I'll quit talking within 4 minutes. If you do nothing else today, have I already said this to all of you in this room? Probably. Sign up for Unite Against Book Bans and do it tonight. Unite Against Book Bans, before creating this campaign, the American Library Association had an organization do a ton of research, and I love that any statistic on this website is nonpartisan and demonstrates that people really do want to have choice, and they really do want to have access, and they do want to control what their family can consume. And we realize that often we're in such a great position in Illinois and here, right? And we have awesome staff, but in many areas, librarians cannot stick up for themselves. They will lose their job. They will get, people will talk about them on the patch or whatever. It's just, it's been fairly awful though. So Unite Against Book Bans was created for community members to be advocates. The talking points are helpful. If you sign up with your zip code, if Jen said there's a problem, we want people to come and stand up for such and such. Here are talking points. Here are potential letters to the editor. These are things you can do. Please come to this meeting. The Unite Against Book Bans staff would send out an e-blast to everyone in the area who had signed up. So it's a great grassroots effort, and I encourage you to take a look and explore that site. I want to mention one other thing. There's something here called book resumes. And the book resume project is where some librarians throughout the country and some publishers have taken all these lists of hundreds of books that are being challenged, and they've written out the awards, the reviews, where the author and publisher suggests placing it on the shelf, the topic. It's just very thorough. And if you are placed on a committee to have to review a book, you won't have to reinvent the wheel by digging up all of that information. I suggest taking a look at it. It's a wonderful site. And then finally, the Society of Acronyms. Just to familiarize yourselves with a few organizations and groups. I mentioned the National Council of Teachers of English. They have a wonderful intellectual freedom office. Whenever there are challenges to curriculum, they are very supportive. I recommend being familiar with them. The National Education Association does a fair amount. They have some resources. They're not quite as strong in it as NCTE, but I do recommend them. Interestingly enough, the ACLU, some of their regional law offices are focused on this topic. They are also strong advocates for human rights. So when content relates to race or LGBTQ content, the ACLU is often willing to get involved, write briefs, etc. Unite Against Book Bans, the American Library Association Office for Intellectual Freedom. If there's a challenge and you experience it at one of the nearby schools or anywhere, please, please, please go online And I'm here to help you find the link and report the challenge, because that's where we get those statistics. We know what's happening, where in the country, and we understand why people are censoring content or challenging content. We provide one-on-one support for librarians when they are going through challenges. We will write letters of support. If we all sat down and made a really questionable decision, you might get a letter from the Office for Intellectual Freedom or the Freedom to Read Foundation saying, here are all the legal reasons why this is a really bad idea. And they might share not only the legal cases, but examples of how much money we could lose for the village of Grange. So lots of support, efforts like Banned Books Week. It's a great office. I can't pitch this organization enough. So the Freedom to Read Foundation, the group I work for, does First Amendment education, litigation, and advocacy. And the one area currently where we're seeing victory is in the courts. I pray daily about Llano and what's going to happen when that hits the Supreme Court, but I have hope. And so right now, we've gone from maybe being involved with 3 cases a year to about 15 currently. So it's, I'm not going to use any of those words. It's different than anything I've ever experienced. And it's wonderful, though, to be able to be part of keeping the freedom to read and keeping access to information. So that is my spiel. It's a little different than most years, but does anyone have any questions, comments, anything?
We as a board would never vote on a ban, right? That goes to Jen.
You'd have to take a look at the policy that you're going to adopt tonight and see what the process is, whether it goes to the director, and then if someone disagrees with the director, if it dies or if it goes to the board. There's absolutely a possibility that it would go to the board eventually and you would have to vote.
Right.
There would be a process for voting, but you'd have to go ahead and vote, yeah. And that's one of those things where you'd look at the content, you'd look at the challenge that the person brought, and you'd set aside your personal conviction and make sure you were voting based on whether content should be here in our public library. Yeah, so you could. That's part of when you become a trustee, why you swear to uphold the First Amendment. Because when it comes down to it, intellectual freedom in libraries is very tied in with the First Amendment. Yeah.
Just not to use the word unprecedented, but what? So what happens if the Supreme Court doesn't like butt jokes, or I don't know, or doesn't want butt jokes? Pending. How would that then impact our would we have any power to have a policy, or is it now anyone can censor anything, or how do you see that?
So right now, the Llano decision, the en banc court decision, only affected 3 states, Texas and 2 others. And I apologize for not recalling what those 2 are. Similar, and the case would be arguing that what's in libraries is government speech. Again, remember that slide that said, I am not an attorney, anything is informational. And this is about to be anything is Joyce's opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious. That's fine.
So the court tends, unless it relates to religion, they have upheld the First Amendment. When it relates to religion, then it's a question. But they've been upholding the First Amendment. So I'm hopeful. And it would be saying, again, that what's in libraries is government speech, and I think it would be awfully hard to back that up. And it would probably be similar to abortion where states would have power, but I don't know that. So yeah, I don't know. But truly, our courts give me hope every day.
That's good.
Every day. Other comments, thoughts, questions?
I will just say I'm a task force member for the Unite Against Book Bans as a personal Jennifer E. Hovanek at Gmail, and so not associated with my work. And I have submitted 2 libraries that are 2 letters in support of librarians within 10 miles of this library who have had challenges at their libraries. And then there was one recently a little further downstate where we had a call to send some support. So it's, again, we don't want to rest too far on our state. You know, it's great that we can, but it does still live here.
Mm-hmm. And advocacy makes all the difference. And thank you for what you're doing. You are making it so our public library keeps going and keeps providing something for everyone in the village of LaGrange, which is awesome. So, yeah.
I'm really struck by the financial impact of the litigation and the settlements and all of that. Like, I don't remember that being part of your previous
It never has been. This is the far less warm and fuzzy presentation.
No, but it's necessary to know about that part of it. I think it's helpful.
Well, and the killer here is that it takes away time and money and efforts. Like, I would much rather that Kendra be able to do story times and outreach. I'd much rather that the money we have is going towards keeping the Tyler room friendly and happy. I'd much rather we have the kitchen programming that we do have down here. I want our money to go towards that, not to defending FOIAs, not to defending lawsuits. I want that money here. I want to replace the boiler and keep our building warm and keep buying the books. I don't want it going towards lawsuits.
But so wouldn't that be a reason, and I don't know I read through it, the policy, but wouldn't that be a reason to say you cannot submit a challenge if you don't live in this town? Because someone from Ohio could be like, all right, I'm going to get them, and I don't care if they spend all their money because I don't live there. Right?
When Turning Point USA came to Lyons Township school board meetings almost weekly, was it last year, the year before?
I think 2 years ago.
2 years ago. They mainly came up from Indiana. And they weren't the ones, they were people from Indiana were speaking against policies at our board. So that would be something to consider. Good.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for, I got a little longer than I expected, but thank you.
Are you
And Jen knows I chopped out a lot.
Are you able to share your presentation with us?
Yes,
Thanks.
I will. I'll send you the PDFs, yes?
Yes,
Okay, and then you can distribute them.
happily.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joyce.
Well, that's a perfect segue to policy.
Policy time.
Speaking of collection development policies.
It's the first one on the list.
Yeah, so Jen, can you go back to the full list of, so we went through 1, 2, 3, thank you, 5 policies at our last meeting, one of which we're recommending that we eliminate the COVID, but we went through all the policies, not most importantly, but related to our last discussion, the collection development. And I want to make sure everyone's had a chance to read those they were in the packet. And if they had any questions on any of the changes we made or the procedure if someone has a challenge.
So to the the whole issue of being a taxpayer resident or card holder.
Yeah.
What exactly is the change with this? With this?
Can you scroll down to
Yeah.
that part, or can you speak to that,
I
John,
can
probably
do
off the top of your head?
Because I remember we had amended that a few years ago.
Yes. So with our, and if this makes you nauseous, sorry about it. So are you talking about the form itself? That's the easiest place that kind of says it. Or was it previous to that?
Well, I saw the form, it says like, are you a resident or taxpayer, but it,
Is it just in that reconsideration form? Or was it the policy itself that? there was
In
a
the
change?
policy itself, there's on page 29 of 70, it says LaGrange residents and taxpayers wishing to use the formal complaint process, I think is where it's.
This
so
one
does
here?
that mean?
So I
only
think,
those
so we
people
say
can-
LaGrange residents, cardholders, and taxpayers.
Yeah.
So we do differentiate
Okay.
in there.
Yes, and that one wasn't, that is not one of the changes that we made, that was one that's already
That was
in
there.
the policy.
Okay.
Our legal team did recommend saying specifically LaGrange card holders as well, so I did miss one of those, so I have to put that in.
Okay.
But you'll see it says it, somehow the, Control H found it everywhere but there, even right above it, it references residents, card holders, and taxpayers. So, but the part about that is that in their mind, and I had asked, why do we need to expand it? And what they had said is that, you don't have to necessarily consider that feedback outside of it. However, they don't recommend having no recourse. So the recourse for those people that if they have questions would be to come and speak at a board meeting. And then you all would follow that procedure where the person has 3 minutes to speak. And then you thank them for their feedback, and then that's the end of it. So, but yeah, that was one thing that they had said would be a long-term protection of us, is to have, strong rules, but no way for people to share their opinion. So that's how that ended up. I don't know why the form is green. The form will not be green.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I don't know why that happens, but it is green.
Yeah. And on the form, I had noticed we had moved up with the numbered. Did you examine the entire worker program? We moved that to the first, but I think it's still number 3 too.
Oh, we just have to.
So we can just
we can just
duplicate
take
that.
that out.
Do we really want you to think
Make
about
sure.
that question?
We're gonna see if you answer differently.
So if you'll remember, this form we looked at when we looked at our program policy last year, and we had said that we wanted to, oops, sorry, I thought it was going to scroll, my apologies. That we wanted to, instead of having a program reconsideration request and a materials reconsideration request, we thought it was a better route to have one form that appears in both policies. So this policy you have seen before last year, but we waited to update it here because we knew this was happening within the 6 months or so between, and we wanted to wait till the new board came in as well. And again, in the last 6 years of LaGrange Park, or excuse me, oh my God, where do I work? LaGrange Public Library. We've had 2 reconsideration requests, and neither of them made it farther than a discussion between the director and the patron, because they were not residents. They came from people who were not residents. So that was something that definitely saved a little bit of time and effort. But we're asking people, what do you suggest? What value can you find? Like, just trying to give people the opportunity to really think about it. And there's some statistics somewhere that will say there are people sometimes that just want to be handed the form. They won't even turn it back in. So that's the other part, is letting people know that there is a process by which you follow.
And folks just have to be one of the 3, a cardholder or, okay.
Yeah.
And it's a taxpayer specifically in LaGrange, taxpayer, Illinois.
Yes, and we say taxpayer because that's a classification of the public library card. So you could own a business that's housed in LaGrange. Even if you don't live here, your business is still considered a taxpayer because they pay taxes in LaGrange.
But if we take federal funds,
Luckily, we don't get federal funds. Our funds come from the state library mostly. And in Illinois, we're different from our neighbors because we are funded locally primarily.
So none of the grants that you write are federally funded?
No, I mean, they do exist. It's very difficult for a public library to get federal grant funding, and that's because public libraries are not considered 501(c)(3)s. So that's why a lot of libraries will have a foundation or a friends group so that they can apply for some of those federal, and then they'll take the money and distribute it to the library. But the library proper, that's not how it operates in Illinois, at least. If you are a library who is a state that is very state library heavy, think of Colorado, think of California, Minnesota, they rely on that state library who is getting a ton of funding because they're not funded by local taxes. They're funded more through that grant funding that they're getting at that IMLS level. So those are why we've seen some of those, South Dakota no longer has a library delivery system, for example, because it was funded with IMLS funding that's no longer available. So, but we're funded locally by property taxes. 99 or 97.9% of our funding is through residents. So that's another reason to have it focused on your residents, taxpayers, and cardholders, because they're the people that are actually funding your day-to-day operations. Yeah.
And you feel strongly leave taxpayer, or just you can't omit it?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay.
If we had a different relationship maybe with some of our local businesses, I might feel that way. But again, we're very, that's one of the great reasons to have the outreach efforts that we have and the local connections and partnerships that we've worked so hard to build and maintain, is that, I would think, and my true feeling is that before it even got to this level, there's conversations happening person to person. And that's being a trusted purveyor of information in your community, or a trusted service, right? So I don't know that it would get to that level, but.
Other questions on the collection development or comments policy?
This is the one too that's important for us to have approved, because this is the one that is tied to per capita funding, or if there are ever any construction grants available through the Illinois State Library. That's part of that anti-book ban legislation that was put into effect a few years ago. So you'll remember we have to have something that says we uphold the freedom to read, we uphold the ALA Bill of Rights, and that we have a procedure by which patrons can share their reconsideration requests, which we do. And we just have all of ours in one policy. Some people have separate policies for that, for some libraries. Because as Joyce has told me many times, no one person is responsible for the public library.
Will we we'll go through all the policies and then vote?
We should.
Yeah, right,
Yes.
vote on them as a whole, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
You just have to say all of the policies for the record.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so COVID is going away.
COVID is going away. The vaccine requirements, our recommendation is just to strike that policy. Anyone have any questions on that one? Good, okay. Employee benefits and services, I feel like there were just smaller changes on this one, Jen, if you can speak to anything significant.
So this one is actually a little bit of a combination of a few, there was the information in the handbook as it stood was very scattered. So we had a separate policy for continuing education, and we had a separate policy for tuition reimbursement, or it was mentioned in other places. This is cleaning everything up and putting it into one spot to make it easily findable for the staff. As you can see, this is a personnel policy. But we also added a few things to just have some common sense stuff. So for example, we talk about when you're getting professional reimbursement. We talk about the continuing professional development, what the business expense reimbursement and stuff like that. So those were all things that weren't necessarily written down anywhere, that we just did, that we're just putting in the policy so everybody has it at the right space.
Any other questions or comments on that policy? Next one up is the employment classification. And again, that was more like consistency and cohesiveness, right?
Yeah. This talks about how we define our staff members, regular full-time, regular part-time, sub, temporary, or introductory. And then some stuff about equal employment, which we do have a whole separate policy about that too.
Questions or comments on that policy? Good, okay. Reference and material advisory services policy. What were the highlights of the changes there, Jen?
So this one was actually a big change because it just used to be called our reference service policy. However, the public library, and this hadn't been updated, I think 2017 was the last time it was looked at, so time to change her up. But we wanted to add some information in about materials advisory because here at the public library we advise on much more than just reference questions. Actually, I would argue we're probably more in the reader's advisory and materials advisory side nowadays. You know, most people can Google the majority of the reference questions. But we wanted to set forth some of the goals of what we do here for reference and materials advisory services, making sure that we're saying from the get-go what staff can do and what staff cannot do. So you'll see here, you know, we're our welcoming environment, we can provide materials and technologies and services, that bulleted list. We talked a little bit about ethics and standards. Those were things that, again, weren't necessarily stated anywhere, but we thought it was very important to make sure that people have access to this operational policy that talks about, and again, posted on our website, that says, here is our code of ethics and our why we're doing what we're doing. This is a big one that probably if you're not doing it every day, you don't think about. Librarians cannot provide legal, medical, investment, or tax reference questions, and that we can only guide you to information resources. You would be amazed at how many people want us to answer some of that stuff for them. And also, again, it seems like a silly thing, but we can't, when it comes with your technology, if you bring it into us, again, we are not, you know, the geek squad. There's only so much that we're able to do, and it's very basic. So putting those things out there, and a lot of it is in support of the staff in the event that they ever need to say, actually, it's our policy that says we can do X, Y, or Z.
Other questions or comments on that policy? Good. And those are last one.
Those are last one.
Yay. Okay, so we have a motion to approve the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 policies listed in the packet today.
Motion to approve the 5 policies listed in the packet.
So we want to approve the changes to the 4 and then rescind the 5th?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. That's the right way to put it. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I second the motion to rescind the COVID and approve the other 4.
Great.
Roll call.
Katie,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Vicky,
Aye.
Chantel,
Aye.
Whitney,
Aye.
Jessica,
Aye.
Jennifer.
Aye.
Motion passed.
And we review a chunk of policies like once a quarter, is that right?
We're doing them kind of
Like,
every other month.
okay, got it.
Right now, because there's a kind of a backlog.
Great.
Yeah.
Would it be possible in the packet to, we probably don't need to see like the changes to, you know, like moving the period and all that, like grammatical stuff, but maybe some kind of executive summary, because it's first time through reading this, I'm like, are we just adding card holders, or is this a major change of the
difference?
policy?
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
I second that because also the minutes are so brief that it doesn't really give you a full sense of what happened. Like I found myself having questions about what actually happened. So in the past we have included red line policies with the new versions. We could do that, or we could do what you're suggesting, just to maybe a little bit more detailed summary.
Well, then you know what areas to focus on. And
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
So I would be happy to do something more lines of the executive summary. I wouldn't want to I would not recommend putting a red line version in there, and this is why. The policy committee is meeting to do that meat of the work. So I mean, that's taking your packet that's already 50 pages and adding another 40 pages to it. So that's one part. But I could do like, the highlights.
Yeah,
like I think that's fine.
That
And put that in there.
Yeah, that makes
sure.
sense.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we need something, a happy medium between maybe the red lines and then the very, very brief minutes. Because
Yeah, if you saw, I have 3 folders. So I have, here's the original, here's the Jen edits,
I don't want that.
so link edits, and then here's the ones we actually send to the board.
right. No, thank you.
Yeah, too much, and I don't want you to have more,
Thank
but
you.
I think
Yeah,
probably like a
the highlights, so
one-pager.
you know what was.
Yeah.
And most of them aren't going to be a lot of change
Sure.
anyway, which is
Right,
good.
yeah.
But we still have 1 or 2 that are hanging out, like that 2017. I have a 2016.
Yeah.
Because my calendar is every 3 years. That's a standard calendar, and that was not the calendar they've been on before I started. But I've been here 2 years and 7 months, so we're almost at 3 years where everything is.
Great, perfect.
So then it'll be a lot more periods and stuff.
Yeah.
I think.
Awesome. Excellent. All right. We did it.
Yay.
Okay. So with this next item, Jen, were you thinking you wanted to?
I was going to request that we table the year 3 strategic plan activities until next month because we accepted the resignation of our outreach services librarian. She's moving to another library and she is moving personally. And in year 3 of the plan, a lot of it is librarian led and a lot of librarian heavy. So that only all happened last week. So I didn't have enough time to sort of rethink, and I want to assess the work as it stands because I'll have to figure some of that out. Now, good thing is we were able to promote from within. We have a new librarian, so that's great, but she also was leading some things too, so we have to rearrange. So I think in September I would be very comfortable coming with, here's the next plan. So if that's something you all are amenable with to give me until September, I appreciate it. It's like good thing, bad thing, right? We did present these at the staff meeting as well this month, so staff is very, when I talked to them, I was like, okay, we're gonna look at it again. Don't worry.
So we'll circle back to that in September.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Great. Awesome. So then committee reports, finance. Do you have any excitement for us?
I don't have any excitement for you.
Excellent. Awesome. All right, Friends of the Library.
Yeah, just one quick update. We did receive a $5,000 donation from the Trust of Anne and Robert Bluden. And they earmarked it for the children's department. So the team is brainstorming ways to use that. They have previously given like another large chunk of money, so they're a big supporter of us. And as a thank you, they're getting coffee mugs and or t-shirts.
I'm sure they have note of those.
Yes. And we said we don't care if we send them before, we'll just send them again. New and refreshed. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Bethany, any
I didn't see any big news. I mean, there were 3 new libraries added to the Rails network. There were like some advocacy pushes and things like that, but nothing that I saw that jumped out would be relevant to the board. I don't know if you saw anything, Jen, that's noteworthy.
I shared with you all the 2 the legislative stuff that happened. Secretary Julius had sent an email about some library security legislation that was signed in. You'll be able to use grant funds for library security upgrades, which is great because previously that's actually been strongly excluded. So I'm hoping, and I had said in my email, there will be hopefully some opportunities for us to apply for some of that because we can definitely use it. That's another system for us that is kind of aging. And then, what was the other one? The other one that was signed into law on August 1st is the naloxone antagonist requirement. It's not required of public library districts, but it is required of local libraries, aka city and village libraries, which we are a village library. So all hours of operation, every public library, village library, or city library is required to have staff trained on staff to administer Narcan, naloxone. So we did that training, and we trained 31 staff members that day, so all of us are trained. And I referenced in my board report our relationship we started with the Cook County Health Department for free naloxone. So that staff's been trained and it's already been put out, so we're ready to go.
That's interesting. Do you know why they distinguish between the district?
They are two different acts. There's the Public Library District Act and the Local Library Act. We are the Local Library Act, and that's the one they did first.
Interesting.
So I don't know if it'll always be that way, but it is currently.
Yeah.
And who joined the Rails? Do we have 4 board members join Rails?
Yes, they were newly elected. July 1st they were installed, so it was not from here.
Okay, that's
but
why I misread it then. I was like,
we were called out because we joined Find More Illinois as of July 1. We haven't even really promoted it yet, and it's already been very successful, so that's exciting. But that might have been something you saw that we did.
Cool. Policies and services that we just did a good job.
Yeah.
We did doing it.
Yeah, Jen, when you are ready, reach out to us about our next chunk.
Yeah, we had talked about maybe late October, November,
Yeah.
so we have some time.
All right, great.
That's it. All right, excellent. Village news. Jess, do you have anything for us?
They are on summer break, so they haven't had a meeting since our last meeting. The only thing, they had like a water main break, so they were talking about holding water, but I don't think it really matters for them. I don't think there's a huge water usage here, so yeah. More of a village issue.
And we'll just clue you in something that you might not know. The village still has not hired a finance director.
Right, yeah.
So I encourage everybody to remember that the village's audit and our audit generally happen concurrently. So ours is done. So, but TBD. Will we, the goal, legal?
I think the next meeting is next Tuesday, actually, so we wish, or Monday, rather, so, yeah.
It's so much work for the admin office for Joanne and I that I do not envy President Knight at all, or Manager Knight.
All right. Jen, any things from your report you wanted to?
Just a few things. One of them that we referenced was our relationship we are working on with our neighbors at the LaGrange Park Public Library and the Linda Sokol Francis Brookfield Public Library. They get very mad if you don't say the whole name, so we have to say the whole name, to discuss how we execute teacher cards for District 102. So we have an intergovernmental agreement that is signed by LaGrange Park and LaGrange that was signed 10 years ago and has not been updated for some reason. I don't know why, but that's okay. We're going to update it now. That we're hoping to bring in, because District 102 has some schools that are in Brookfield, the library in Brookfield would like to join us in that IGA. So we have a committee working on that. Hopefully we'll have something to bring forward to you about that. And then we have another subcommittee that is working on ways to bring public library cards to newcomers, the unhoused and immigrant and refugee families that we see coming into District 102, and work specifically with the school liaisons. There's one assigned to LaGrange Park, one assigned to the Village of Brookfield, and one assigned to the Village of LaGrange. They've approached us and said, how can we expand library card access for the whole family? So that's something that we'll be, we're all very enthusiastically working on to bring cards to more people as they come to our area. And let's see, The other thing I wanted to mention, and Peter mentioned it a little bit, we have been doing major collection reorganization efforts upstairs on the second floor, so I'm sure you noticed that we re-cataloged 4,200 DVDs, CDs, and audiobooks to move them. Remember, they used to be in the drawers that were broken and could not be repaired anymore, never stayed closed, so they had to be relabeled. So the label was on the outside, so now they are on standalone shelving. That took a combination of efforts and, again, just the person power it takes to make that happen. And we also moved our large type books to the front of the collection on those shorter shelves to make them a little bit more visually accessible, and also patrons who may need that large type can get to them more quickly at the front of the collection instead of having to go all the way to the back of the library where they were before. So those were just two things. Oh, and the other one, our social services appointment form is live on our website now. We've had it live for about 3 to 4 weeks, and we've already had 5 appointments made with either, it's a 30-minute appointment with either our social worker or our social work intern. So we've been helping people with job search, with sourcing food opportunities for some food scarcity issues. And then we've been working on figuring out how to help somebody apply for a job. So that's been a little tricky. But again, those are all things that have been happening this month. So very exciting. It's been a long-term goal for us, so that's great. Is it for me? Oh, and Kendra won an award.
Yeah, congratulations again, Kendra.
I'm sure you saw that. And Kendra's also our new full-time librarian, so double yay. She banner month of the Vankempen household, apparently.
That's really fabulous. I'm glad that that worked out so close together. Like, yeah.
It's so hard too, and you don't always have staff that are, you know, you reassess every position every time, and you don't always have staff that have the talents that, you know, outreach requires a little bit of performance, a little bit of, you know, the old razzle-dazzle kind of thing. And if you've ever seen your kids at story time, you know that Kendra's really good at that. So it'll be great. We're sad we're losing Lauren, but at the same time, it's going to be a smooth, I think, transition on the library front. So it'll be good.
I just had a question on the social services. Do we have a social worker on staff, or is it like shared with other how's that work?
She is ours, and she works 25 hours a week, so she's part-time. And then we are in our second semester of having social work interns from Aurora University.
Oh, cool.
So it's really great because that's become, social workers are realizing the library is a space that can be a good provider.
Yeah.
We do a little bit of a different model than some of our neighbors. Our neighbors will do like full-on caseload management, and that's not something that we've chosen to do here, simply because we have great relationships with Beds Plus, with Aging Care Connections, with Helping Hand, just depending on who has the need. So part of Liz's job is the, you know, one-on-ones, and there's never been a formal way to request it up until this form was created. So she's been doing it for almost, her year anniversary is at the end of this month. But yeah, she's happens to be a social worker who also has an MLIS. Cool. So it's in our favor for sure.
It's a very magical combination.
Yeah.
And who wants to work part-time.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Also, a unicorn. I had made a note on this topic. Do we have any policies that address our social services delivery?
We have not, but I think it could be something. I think it could be something to think about. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to look and see if libraries do have that. But
I'm wondering. I don't, and I've not really delved into that. But I'm just wondering, like, sort of about coming on the heels of our reference and material service. Like, would this be something?
Yeah, I can definitely look into
that. Just in terms of having some guidelines about what we are doing,
what we provide, and
you know. And again, like I would call these like the .2 policies at my work, like something for staff to fall back on, and
yeah,
you know, if a full,
I can see if there's some examples out there too.
Yeah, curious. Cool. Any other trustee comments?
Just putting in a plug to keep thinking about prioritizing the pedestrian book drop, especially as, winter comes and it gets darker, and that is around a blind curve. And I do think it's a risk management thing to think about. We don't want some kind of multi-million-dollar lawsuit, and when we can fix it for $17,000, or even just put in an old book drop back where it was. So.
Yeah.
We did discuss that at the previous meeting?
Yeah, I think
Last
it
month's
was last
meeting?
month when you were.
Yeah, I know, I
you were
wasn't
not
here, so I
but-
apologize.
No, don't apologize, but we
Yeah.
did delve into this. So
Yeah.
We were going to say.
And we were looking at how many options did they give us for our next project? 4 options, and the board had voted to do the room upstairs as
I don't
opposed to
think
pedestrian.
we don't.
Well, we had recommended, excuse me, yeah, you're right, not a vote, but that was our recommendation moving forward of funds to pass along. And we did talk about perhaps doing some signage as a way to kind of, I don't know, legally help us support us a little bit more.
I don't remember any signage.
We talked about signage at the last meeting.
We did?
We did, yes.
Signage for the book drop that is
Uh-huh.
around the corner?
Yeah,
Okay, yes,
Yeah,
I
we're
do
gonna-
remember that.
okay.
But I would agree with Chantel. Sundays are closed, so I'm on my bike, but I'm dropping off there too, and it's not safe. Anyone can come around that corner, it's kind of blind.
Right, and we did talk about this extensively, and I'll just share a couple points that we did touch on. One is that we can't control behavior of patrons when they choose to return materials. And people are choosing to return materials at a time that's convenient for them, but it doesn't mirror the time frame they can pick up the materials. So you're picking the materials up from within the building, you're choosing to drop them off in this way, but that is a choice that people are making.
I think the only other thing that came up was the previous drop being more risky than this one based on the study. Like they did a traffic study, right? Like they had someone out and did
Well, yeah, I think we were
when they built that new one.
right when they designed the new book drop. The village and the library collaborated on a traffic study to assess the safety of that curve. So I know you guys.
I'm just saying it's something that's
right.
to fall back on. Like clearly there's not a lot of good options, but that being perhaps the best.
Right.
I don't know if that's true or not, but if that's what came with it. I wasn't here obviously during that time, but I would think clearly when you're doing a study like that, you're looking at all the options.
No, I just know that, I used to have to walk through the ATM at Chase, and that was not comfortable. There's cars behind me.
Right.
I think people move to this town because it's walkable. They walk to restaurants, they walk to the library. I just don't know. I mean, I wasn't here when this drive-through happened, but I just think we should
They can.
I do think it's an issue.
They still can walk to the library though. They just have to return materials inside the building, or
Right. I'm just saying we're prioritizing cars over people. That's not. I just don't think that's probably right. But if we can't push this any further, I just want it on the record that that's what I think we should do.
I agree, if you can put it down in the notes.
I also agree. Yeah,
I'm a walker. My kids. I don't want my daughter going around the corner and returning the book. I mean, it's just.
And I did when I first tried the book, because I was a new trustee when this was done, and I tried it, and I did send a picture to Jen, and there was a woman with a stroller, 2 dogs, and 2 kids on a bike in front of me between another car dropping off.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not good.
Right, and I know we've discussed this several times before, and
We haven't really, because I think I went back in my notes, and this was like 2 years ago, and we were going to put it on the agenda.
we
never did.
though. So it was one of the
Options of last month's
projects,
meeting.
and we opted to go in a different direction.
I don't think that was us opting, that was Jen's decision.
I think it's also hard too
Guidance
because those
we gave.
people who do go through the drive-through, the other option is you're having all those people park and walk somewhere. So there are going to be other people who are driving and using that drop. So if you don't have the drive-through drop, all those people are parking and then walking.
We're not going to eliminate the drive-through drop.
Well, I know. I'm just saying if that didn't exist, So the only option was that walk up, then you would have people parking and walking to the library.
The other option was drive-through.
I guess
The
I'm just
other
saying,
option
like,
also requires
if it's
people
only a
to
walk-up
be in
job,
the
then you wouldn't have
traffic.
those people who want to driving through, parking, and then walking. If
Right.
the drive-through wasn't an option.
You know, as we discussed last month, we could put
I'm not saying either one
a
is.
box
right.
anywhere. We still could not prevent people from opting
What
to
they
return materials around the corner.
I mean, you could do one during, well, I guess if you're walking into the car, you're gonna walk to the back.
May I have your attention, please? The library is preparing to close. Please bring your items to the front desk on the first floor for checkout. Thank you.
I don't want to revisit like stuff that was discussed last month, and it sounds like for the short-term future we have priorities, but I think it would I'd feel better if it was identified as a potential opportunity for the future and not like book closed on it, pun intended, I guess. Agree. Yeah. Thank you.
So Joanne, can you read what you wrote in the notes so we can all?
We're not going to do that right now. We have minutes from the previous meeting. We have discussed this issue before. We can consider discussing it at a future meeting, but we're not going to go back and review notes from a meeting. We're 6.
I'm not saying notes from a meeting. I'm just asking that Joanne put in the review for the minutes or what we go through as far as trustee comments. That 3 trustees did make comments on a book draft.
Right, she will take the minutes as she would normally at any other meeting.
Right, but I think we do have trustee comments.
We
Yeah,
do have trustee. That's what we're
We put
doing
in the
right
trustees'
now.
comment,
Okay.
and then when I send the minutes
We'll
for
review.
the secretary and the director to
Right.
review, you'll see that, and you can let me know if the wording is fine.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. Any other comments?
Are we going to discuss what was brought up in the beginning? Public trustee comments, no?
I mean, I feel like what she talked about is stuff we discussed about moving things in the teen room to make more access. And potentially with that construction project is the idea that there will be spaces like this where there are hangouts or things where groups of kids can go and they have their space. At least that's what I thought.
I felt like she
That's what I
was,
thought that.
she was echoing what is in our building maintenance
Right.
plan
Yeah.
vision.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, I think it's reinforcing what is in our plan. Which I think is good.
Right, and we also identified that as a particular goal for your performance goals for this coming year. So it's definitely on our radar.
I guess the last touch base about the book drop, the only thing that was also difficult is when they did present the ideas, the dollar amount for what you get out of it, just, to me, seemed like cost versus benefit was like,
Super expensive
It
versus,
was-
right, yeah.
right. Having just already put tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars in the drive-through one, I mean, it's, and then,
I think there could be a simpler solution. The first approach was we were going to drill, is it like 6 or 10 feet through cement, do you remember?
So 4 foot gap between the
Yeah.
brick wall, the old elevator shaft, and the reinforced CMU.
So that's what we looked at first, and that was like, no. And then this came up, and this could be, high, we don't know if we don't know.
well, I think they gave us quotes on things. They were like $50,000-$60,000 was the minimum to put in a book drop. Do I think there should be something more reasonable? I don't disagree with that.
Can't we just get something we had before, like a small, the Sagatuck Douglas Library in Michigan, they have one right, you can walk by and put your book in, it's not complicated, it's not attached to the building, it's.
I think there was discussions about employees going out.
I think that's
don't know.
ridiculous.
I don't know.
I think that's a little bit, I'm sorry, but that's
Yeah.
a job, you walk 2 feet outside, you have to walk from the parking lot into the library,
Yeah.
It's not exactly that
Well, we're talking risk management from a patron perspective, but
Right.
we can talk risk management from employees
Right.
too. I
So-
just don't.
I think perhaps this needs to be an issue that we add to a future agenda if we really want to hash this out and have some sort of resolution, because we cannot keep coming back to this
Circling
point
back,
and like beating a dead horse again. So we're gonna need to, I think, consider adding this in a action-oriented way to a future agenda. Jenna, we can discuss that leading up to a future meeting, and maybe have some more, kind of costs and potential
Ideas.
alternatives. Right. But I will say, I don't think there's going to be a solution that is a perfect one.
Right.
And I know there is definitely concern about the safety of that exterior book drop, but we're not going to discontinue the use of that. So I would just ask that everyone keep in mind that that's not going away. So any concerns that you have about the safety or liability or anything related to that is not going to go away. So just keeping that in mind. So any other comments for the evening? All right, let us adjourn at 8:50 p.m.
All right.